Quinn, Peter, and Vorden were escorted by the second-year students to a separate part of the school. The school was split into different sections, and the second-year building was separate from the first years. As such, second-year students didn't really interact with the first-year students. "Should we just run?" Peter asked Quinn in a hushed tone. "It might just make the situation worse. If they were going to do something to us, they would have waited until we were on our own," Quinn whispered back. "They must have intentionally done this in public to make a statement to all the others." After walking for a while longer, they eventually arrived at their destination. It was underneath one of the second-year buildings. There were a few second-year students who were walking past, but otherwise, the place was relatively quiet. "We brought them here, Momo," one of the second-year students informed a tall man with brown hair wrapped in a ponytail who had been sitting on the staircase. "You guys can leave." Momo waved them off as he stood up from the staircase. The second-year students did as they were told, and quickly left them to be on their own. "Some rumors have reached my ears of a high-level student hanging around with a bunch of low-levels." "So what? Is it against the rules?" Vorden stood his ground with confidence. However, Quinn couldn't help but notice Momo's wristwatch, which displayed the number 6. Momo started to laugh. "True, the school might not have a written rule preventing you from associating with their kind, but there are some unwritten rules." Momo then walked over to Quinn. "You see, the moment you start treating this trash like they are useful to society, they might start to get a big head." Now that Momo was close enough to Quinn, he tried to use his inspect skill on the older student, but for some reason the status screen was blurry. It looked like the status screen itself was melting, making all the information unreadable. "Is it because I'm out in the sun?" Quinn wondered. "Look at this scum. I'm only a few feet away from him, and there isn't even an ounce of fear in his eyes." Momo snorted at Quinn before him. "I can't wait for the next war, so we can get rid of these wastes, so only the strong survive." Quinn's blood started to boil. He despised the war, as it had taken everything away from him, including his parents. He no longer cared if he was going to take a beating or not. All he wanted to do was punch Momo in the face right there and then. Unable to hold his anger in any longer, he threw out a punch. Alas, Momo appeared to have been able to predict his action. Before Quinn had even begun his attack, the older student had taken a step back, making Quinn's fist hit nothing but air. Vorden took this chance to try and grab onto Momo. However, once again Momo had reacted in advance, resulting in Vorden grabbing nothing. "You think I'm going to let someone touch me whose ability I don't even know?" Momo sneered at them in derision. "I didn't come here to fight you guys. Consider today to be a friendly warning. There are people in this school that not even the military can touch, and if you continue acting this way, they will get involved." With that, Momo headed back up the stairs and into the second-year building. "Do you think he's serious?" Peter asked. "I know at school they didn't like this type of stuff, but it seems even worse now that we're in a military school. Why don't the teachers do something to stop it?" "Because it works in their favor," Quinn sighed. "With the strong bullying the weak, the latter will try to find a way to become strong themselves. However, if you're weak to begin with and can't rely on your family to help you, where can you go to get this power?" "The military," Vorden answered in Peter's stead. "Exactly," Quinn nodded his head. "The teachers and the school don't do anything against it because it benefits them. After experiencing hell for 2 years, your mind will likely have been broken down. In that state, you might do anything to seek power and protection, and the military can offer that for you." Quinn then looked at Vorden and sighed. "I'm sorry, Vorden, but I think it might be for the best if we comply with their wishes and go our separate ways for now." "Why should I listen to them?" Vorden snapped back. The outburst surprised Quinn. After all, Vorden stood to gain the most from that. He was strong, so nobody would bother. "Look, Vorden, I assume you think you are helping me and Peter, but maybe you don't understand because you've never been powerless like us. When we break their rules, they probably won't do anything to you. It will be me and Peter they will go for." Quinn hated saying that to Vorden, especially since he was the first high-level person who didn't look at them like scum, judging them solely by their power-level numbers. Earlier, when Quinn and Peter had walked around with him, the higher levels had done nothing to them because of Vorden. Unfortunately, his behavior had attracted bigger fish, something that Vorden and Quinn couldn't handle, at least, not yet anyway. "Fine, have it your way," Vorden shouted as he angrily stormed off back to the dorm building. "Maybe we should have explained it to him better," Peter noted in a low voice. "It's fine, it might be better this way," Quinn sighed in defeat. Vorden was angry, but not at Quinn's words. No, he was pissed off at the whole situation at the school. It seemed that even here, people were dictating how he should live his life, who he could and who he couldn't hang out with. Still, Vorden didn't want Quinn and Peter to get hurt, so he regretfully accepted this as the right choice. Nevertheless, Vorden wasn't going to just let these people get away with trying to control his life. No, he was going to go after them all. Layla had been tracking Quinn and the others for a while now. From afar, she had been watching their encounter with Momo. It was kind of amazing how much attention Quinn managed to attract in a single day. The only thing that Layla was confused about was why Quinn's punch had been so slow and weak. From the looks of things, Quinn had really wanted to punch that second-year bully, so why had his attack lacked the power she had seen him exhibit at the training center? After Vorden had stormed off, Peter and Quinn decided that it would be best to head back to class for their next lesson. Just before they got back to the first-year building, they came upon a group of first-year students standing in front of the staircase. "What are we going to do? Dan asked for 50 credits by the end of this week," one of the boys asked his two friends. Their wristwatches showed numbers ranging from 2 to 2.5. "I don't know. Not like we can resist him. He's picking on us just because we're weaker than him," his friend lamented. Credits were the school's and city's currency system. There were restaurants and shops, and even fun activities and games to play all around the city. However, they cost credits. The military school didn't want their students to starve, so all 3 meals were free while at the school. Additionally, each student received a daily amount of 10 credits, which was automatically sent to their wristwatch. It was possible for students to earn more credits for rewards, usually by performing well on missions or school activities. Of course, there was also the possibility of more dubious means. "Wait! Stop right there, you two!" One of the boys suddenly shouted at the duo who had been about to pass them. Peter stopped immediately, while Quinn carried on walking. "Hey! Didn't you hear me? I said stop!" the same boy shouted again. His friend, catching the drift, got in front of Quinn and pushed him back to where Peter was standing. Quinn had hoped they would be safe for a little while, at least until he was out of the sun. If only he got inside the building, then he would stand a fighting chance. "I think I might just have solved our credits problem," the first boy said, grinning. "Lucky us to meet some of the few level 1s in this whole school. Hand over 10 credits each, and we'll let you head inside." "But that's all the credits we have," Peter complained. "Look, I don't want to do this, but if I don't, then my arse gets beat. If you're unhappy, complain to the guy who made us do this. Hand over the credits, now." Peter looked at Quinn with some slight hope in his eyes, perhaps thinking that his friend might be able to do something like last time. Unfortunately, after trying to hit Momo, he knew better than to try and fight them. Besides, they were level 2s. Even at full strength, he was unsure if he could beat them. Fighting them as he was would just result in a beating, so if there was the opportunity to skip that part by paying them off, then that was the best course of action. Just when Quinn received another system message. "An enemy ability user has been detected. You have received a new quest. Second fight, defeat the student known as Rylee. Reward, 50 EXP. A power level difference of 1 has been detected. Additional EXP will be rewarded." Now that fighting them involved EXP and the potential to level up, a confrontation with them started to become really attractive. Still, Quinn wouldn't let his greed win him over. Currently, there were 3 level 2 ability users in front of him, but the system had only asked him to defeat one of them. The first thing Quinn needed to do was get inside so he could use his inspect skill and find out which one was named Rylee. Using it outside, it would only appear as a blur. For now, Quinn decided to hand over the 10 credits. He placed his watch on the other boys and the credits got transferred over. Peter ended up doing the same, and the 2 of them were allowed to enter the building. "Hey, that was a great idea, man," one of the boys praised his buddy. "Should we just stay out here until we find someone weaker again?" "Oh, come on," Quinn thought. He had been sure that after paying them, the trio would enter the building, but now they planned to stay outside waiting for more victims. He suddenly stopped and turned around. "Oi, what are you looking at me like that? Scram unless you want an ass-kicking," one of the boys yelled at Quinn when he saw his gaze. Quinn clenched his fist and shouted, "Rylee!" Unfortunately, the other 2 boys also turned their heads, but one of them said anything else. "Damn," Quinn cursed when he realized that finding out which one was Rylee might be harder than he had imagined. However, he still had more aces up his sleeves. "If you pull this sort of thing again on me, Rylee, you're dead," Quinn said, and gestured with his hand a cut throat. The boy with red hair in the center moved forward, and his face was slowly starting to match his hair. "What the hell did you say to me, you little punk? Have you completely lost your mind?" He aggressively moved towards Quinn, ready to punch him in the face. "Run!" Quinn shouted towards Peter. Like a bolt of lightning, the two friends ran as fast as they could to their next class. "What did you do that for?" Peter asked while running. "I felt bad just giving them their credits, so I wanted to at least annoy them a little as payback," Quinn lied. Peter couldn't help but think Quinn had to be a little mad, yet he liked the fact that his new friend didn't seem to take crap from people even when they were stronger than him. Admiration mixed with incredulity started to appear in his eyes when he looked at the other. Just outside their class, before they moved in, Quinn popped open his quest menu. To his delight, he discovered that although he was away from Rylee, the quest remained active, indicating that he could get the EXP at any time, as long as he could beat the other. At least, he now knew which one Rylee was, so he only had to wait for the right opportunity. "You're going to help me level up," he mumbled to himself with a grin.
Subscribe to the Pocket FM Blockbuster YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notifications. Check out our channel for more exciting shows.